my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to recap my goals from 2024. How did I do? Did I complete all my goals? Short answer is no. And then I'm going to go through some of my stats because I just like to look at stats. And I keep an Excel spreadsheet with a breakdown of a ton of information. So I am going to share some of that information with you. Okay, but let's start with my goals. So in my reading journal, I had my goals page. My thought was to color in a circle when I completed the goal. That never happened. I should go back and maybe do that because otherwise it looks like I didn't complete anything. And I did complete some of them. Okay, so goal number 1 was to read every day. It is completely filled in. I did it this year. I'm so excited. That means I read at least half an hour a day. That's kind of my minimum to color in. Okay, goal number 2. Back when I set this last December, I said to read 98 books. I don't know what I was thinking, because then goal number 3 was to listen to 24 audiobooks. So really, if I'm going to listen to 24 books, and then I want to read 98, that means my goal is actually 124 books. Wow. No, 122. Can I do math? And there's my color in tracker, and I made it to 136 books read. So I met the goal overall. But how did I do? Did I read 98 books? And did I listen to 24 books? We'll get into that in stats. But I mean, overall, I met that goal. Goal number 4 was to read the 24 books on my TBR bingo board. These were first time reads, new to me. They were basically my 24 and 24. However, some of them were series where they were like the third book in the series, so really I had more than 24 I needed to read, but it doesn't matter. I successfully completed it. It was touch and go for a little while because I had one book left that was a book 3 in the series as of December, and I hadn't even read books 1 or 2, so I had to read all 3 books in December. But I did it, so I completed it. Now, my next goal was to read the 24 books that were on my rereads bingo board. Again, same situation. It was 24 books I wanted to reread, but they were randomly chosen last year when I set this bingo board. So some of them were not the first book in a series, further on. And if I'm rereading like book number 3, I really want to reread from book 1 and 2. So that is a goal that I did not complete. I have 5 books that I did not get to them. I have since unhauled one of them because this was the second year it was on the bingo board. So if I didn't read it 2 years, bye-bye. And the other 4 I am interested in reading. So we'll see. Will I get them read this year? I don't know. Okay, number 6. Was to limit my ARCs to 12, preferably 1 per month. Well, I did that, sort of. I technically read 13 ARCs, so I went 1 over. However, I also bought the ARC, I bought a copy of the book when it was released, so I actually didn't read the ARC copy. I read my physical copy that I had purchased. So technically I read 12. So yeah. According to my spreadsheet, because I've since bought other books that were advanced reader copies, according to my spreadsheet, I read 10 ARCs last year. But I know that I read those 3. But I mean, that's complete, really. Then the next goal was to complete my own reading challenge. I did that. And then I have I have vlogs for reading through every book for the January to December. I don't know if I have vlogs for the bonus prompts that I don't think I do offhand, unless they're mixed in one of these vlogs. But these vlogs for sure, I have one for every single month. Okay, then my next goal was to complete Oshina's Christian Romance Reading Challenge, and I did complete that. And the next goal was to complete Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails, her reading challenge, and I did that. I did not think I was going to complete it because I was stuck on the last prompt. So this was the board that went with it with the prompts, and the last one was that it includes a map. Has a map. And thankfully, one of the books I randomly read in December when I was looking at, because I don't have a physical copy of it, and when I looked at the Kindle sample on Amazon's site, there was a map in the very front page. I'm like, thank you. So, yes, that was complete. Okay, and then my very last goal was to read 8 priority series. I wanted to complete these 8 series, and they were what I was focusing on. And I am happy to say I completed it. So, really, all but the rereads, I completed my goals. So only one goal was not completed. I can handle that. Okay, let's talk stats. As I mentioned, I read 136 books this year. That is the most I have ever read in a year. And I put that down to audiobooks. Really? Audiobooks. Because prior to 22, 22? Was it 23? I don't know. I'm relatively new to audiobooks either way. I just didn't. And now I do. And I have noticed an increase in my reading with the help of audiobooks. Okay, so as I said, that's 136 books. That works out to 45,051 pages, which is an average book length of 331. That's pretty good because that's kind of an average book for me. I read some a little bit longer, some a bit shorter, but they're usually around that 300 to 350 mark. So 331 is an average. That's pretty good, I think. Then I gave 28 of those books 5 stars, 63 of them 4 stars, 35 of them 3 stars, 10 of them 2 stars, and I DNF'd 1. So that gives me an average rating of 3.8, which I think is pretty good because I do tend to average between 3 and 4. So a high 3.8 out of 5, that is pretty good. Okay, so out of those 136 books, 104 of them were first-time reads for me. I'd never read the book before, so that is 76% of my reads. And so then that leaves 32 books that were rereads for me. So even though I had 24 books on my rereads bingo board, I reread 32 books. They just weren't those 24 specific ones, that's all. But that is 24% of my reads were rereads. So that is 76% were new, 24% were rereads. Out of those 136 books, 22 were new to me authors, or I read 22 new to me authors. Doesn't mean I only read one book by them. I might have repeated some authors once I discovered them. I don't have that written down exactly. Okay, how did I read them? What format? So, I read 63 books physically. I read 28 books on my Kindle. I read 17 audio only. And then I read 28 books with a combo of audio and physical. That means I'm listening to the audiobook when I can listen to an audiobook, but then I'm sitting down and reading the book when I can sit down and read the book. That is my favorite way to read a book right now, because I have always been one book at a time type person. I prefer to focus on one story, kind of follow it through, end it, and then start another story. That is really my preference. So that is when I can get audio and physical, or like Kindle, whichever, read with my eyes, read with my ears. And if I can get that same book, that's my favorite way to do it. Now, I cannot always get all the books I want to read on audio. So I usually have 2 books going nowadays. Most time I have my audiobook that I'm listening to, and then I have a book that I am reading. So I'm getting better at that. And I mean, at this point in time, I have 3 books on the go, which is very unusual for me. But one is a book club book that I'm kind of forcing myself to read. It's a classic. I'm reading Persuasion by Jane Austen. And so I'm reading a chapter a day. And then I have my audiobook that I'm listening to. Then I have my book that I'm reading. So yeah. So 33% of my books, I listen to some part of them. If I didn't listen to them fully, I listened to part of them. Then 20% I read on my Kindle, and 46% I read only physically. Out of those 136 books, as I said, 10 of them were advanced reader copies. Okay, really 13, but I own 3 of them now. So they're now counted in my own pile, not my ARC pile. And I own 112 of the books I read, which means I borrowed 14 books. So I only borrowed 10% of the books I read. I really would like to increase that number next year and buy less. That's kind of a goal that I have without saying it's an official goal. Okay, since we're talking about buying books, let's just go to that step. How many books did I bring in? I purchased or acquired 114 books in 2024. Out of those 114, I have read 47 of them. Now, it does not mean I read 47 in 2024. It just means that I acquired them and I've already read them at some point in time. Could be the couple arcs that I'd already read, so they went directly on my shelves, like Secondary Target is an example of that for sure. Other ones I've just read before and I just wanted a copy of it. On my spreadsheet, I do have it marked down of how many books I read and what year they were purchased. So I have 27 books that I read that I purchased in 2024. I read 44 books that I had purchased in 2023. So that's pretty good there. Then 14 books that I purchased in 2022. And oh, wait, that number doesn't add up to 100. Something's wrong with my spreadsheet. Oh well. Either way, the top 3 numbers are definitely right. All the rest of the books were either a reread, so I already own them, or I purchased them before 2022. Genres. What is my most read genre? Well, depending how you look at this, my most read genre changes. Because on my genres, I have them broke down between like historical romance, historical fiction, historical suspense, romantic suspense, contemporary romance, legal fiction, just mystery suspense that doesn't have romance, nonfiction biographies, right? So the historical is kind of the big question mark here, because I have historical romance, historical fiction, and then historical suspense. broken down into 3 different categories. If I combine all 3 of those categories together, that is my most read genre. However, when I look at my spreadsheet, my most read genre is romantic suspense because it's not combined. Historical fiction is 10 books. Historical romance is 20 books. And historical suspense is 3 books. Grouping the 3 historical categories together works out to 33 books. My romantic suspense is 32 books. And then my next genre is contemporary romance with 25 books. And then we get down to mystery suspense, which is 13 books, and then legal fiction is 8. So that is my top 5 categories. Okay. Now, how do they break down per author? There are some authors that I read multiple books by, especially because I love to binge series, which we will get to series stats in a minute. I love binging series. So that means I need to read all that author's work in that series. So yes, I've read multiple books. My top 5 read authors are Terry Blackstock with 15 books. Not a surprise at all. Then we have Susan May Warren with 6 books, John Grisham with 6 books, Karen Whitmire with 5 books, and Irene Hannon with 5 books. I was actually surprised with Irene Hannon's number. I thought it'd be higher because I was working my way through the Hope Harbor series, and then she had romantic suspense as well, so I just thought it would be higher. But I guess I was further along in the Hope Harbor series than I realized. So series. 82 of my books out of the 136 were series. So that is 60% of my books are related to a series, which is not a shock at all because I love to read series. I actually kind of thought it would be a bit higher because I don't read a lot of standalones. I'm getting more into it because a lot of historical is standalones. But yeah, so 82 books. Out of those 82 books, 40 different series. I read from 40 different series. So like almost 50% were different series. I started 33 series. It's a lot of series to start in 1 year. But I also completed or got up to date, where the next book's not out yet, in 21 series. And I've decided not to continue 6 series. So that leaves me with currently reading 16 series. That is not bad at all. Considering I started 33 and I'm not continuing 6 of them, and I'm only down to 16 that I need to continue. And I can, at least one of those 16, I didn't even start in 2024. I started in 2023, maybe 2. I really should finish that series. So, yeah. Okay, so as I said, I read 82 books that were part of a series somewhere. That left 52 books that were standalones and 2 books that were companions. So those 2 books are part of like the True Colors series, where it's not really a series. They're all by different authors. They just have a related topic, but you do not need to read them in any order. So I'm counting it as a companion rather than a series. Okay, so as I said, I completed 21 series, or I got up to date in 21 series. Out of those 21 series, 17 of them I completed the series. Okay, let's go back to authors for a minute, because I just looked at my spreadsheet. So I said that I read 22 new to me authors. Overall, I read 66 different authors. Wow. So those are all my stats and my goal recap from 2024. Now it's time to move into 2025. I mean, we're already in 2025. But look forward to 2025 and start recording books on my spreadsheet, which I've already started. Of course I have. Because I love spreadsheets and numbers and just keeping track of all that kind of stuff. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I would love to if you would like and subscribe and stay tuned for future videos. Have a great day. Bye.